The world has been brought together to form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus, or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap, or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol. These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. If you reside in Nigeria, please call this number for help. 080-097-000010. Please like and share this video. You can also follow us on our Instagram at African Patriot Radio News, and on Facebook at African Patriot Radio, and on Twitter at Patriot Radio 1. Another day on African Patriot Radio, where we are poised at keeping you up to date with the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Josephine Paul. The coronavirus COVID-19 is real and rapidly taking over the world, with about 5 new cases now confirmed in Nigeria, making a total number of 36 confirmed cases, 33 active cases, 2 discharged, and 1 dead recorded as at 10:35 a.m. of March 2020. The question most people are asking is, how do I know I have been infected with the virus? Here are some of the early warning symptoms that would need you to check into a health facility for proper diagnosis. Fever, cough, shortness of breath, itching, dry cough, dry throat. And here are some emergency warning signs or symptoms. They include troubled breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, bluish lips or face. These symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. So be alert, spread the news and not the virus. In case of any emergency, you can also call 080-097-000-010. You can also follow our social media handles or like and share. From African Patriot Radio, I am Josephine Paul. form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol. These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. Please call the emergency line for support and inquiries if you reside in Nigeria. The numbers to call is 080-097-000-010. This is brought to you by African Patriot Radio. I am Josephine Paul.
My name is Josephine Paul.
Susan Achin.
Yao Bremen.
Jude Ojima Audu.
Second Zilang.
Richard Bassi.
Ekanem.
I am Messi Joe, and we are
African Patriot on African Patriot Radio.
Hello out there, and many thanks for joining us. You are on to African Patriot Radio, where we give you updated information and the very best of entertainment. We are on African Patriot Radio Midday Feed. We call it Apr Mid Day Feed for short. My name is Elvis Oga, and I have
my name is Josephine Paul. You can call me Jojo the Star Girl.
And I am Fulfillment Water, Richard the Energy Goddess.
Okay, we are on the seat this afternoon to take you around the world on COVID-19 lockdown experiences, and then we'll also be giving you some news update, not leaving out airtime to be shared where you can actually come advertise a business with us. Then we'll also be talking about precautionary measures for the COVID-19 situation. So hi guys, you guys are welcome.
Yeah, thank you. You look good today. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So
how about you?
Very well. Have just been very well.
Okay. So Fuchi, how has been your lockdown experience and all?
Lockdown has been challenging.
Oh.
Okay, coupled with the fact that when you start out in the day,
Yeah.
and then you're used to people on the road, and now you see just yourself on the road walking, and
It's been crazy, right?
It's been crazy.
Wow.
So next thing you get to appreciate the congestion.
Yes.
So you do like, how was it?
I mean, just like how Fuchi just said, it's been cold though. But I'll just say I've just lost, lots of communications with friends. I remember calling my friend to be like, "Can I come see you?" She was like, "No way, Dad is not gonna allow me."
But did you actually mean it when you say, "Can you come see how?"
I was okay. Let me just be honest. I was just bored at home. Like the lockdown, it's just been crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So we're just like sisters. So I just thought I would just go visit her.
Wow.
But just like the whole restriction, stay at home. Her dad is taking it very serious. So no visitors and all that. But it's been crazy. But
And that reminds me, before I forget, happy Easter Monday to everybody out there.
Happy Easter Monday.
Happy Easter. Yeah.
So how was Easter celebrations yesterday?
My Easter celebration was funny because at some point I couldn't get to order a meal, and most of the food vendors had closed down, and then the ones that were available had to increase the price of food and the delivery plans, and then the normal food you can get for a certain amount of money was now little, and then no, the orishi wasn't
all the necessary companies that come with
they
them.
were just almost absent.
I know a lot of people that this will actually hit them so hard.
No, it did hit.
Most people don't cook at home.
Yeah,
they always make their always have to place deliveries and all that and all that.
Yeah.
But mine wasn't that bad. Mom had to, organize a little home party, like not just party, like just had to cook, and we all ate and everybody just had fun.
So how did you guys observe social distancing while you guys were partying?
Family, you think? No, don't get it to say. There was no way. No, we didn't have neighbors come around. Just us, just family.
Okay, I remember myself sharing my experience with you way back then when we were talking about the social distancing stuff, and I was like, my family is that kind of family. When you wake up in the morning, you just get to greet everybody, hug them. But the social distancing just make it look so strange and kind of weird to me.
You can't even hug your brother.
So yesterday we had similar stuff like that. Coming from the kind of family I come from, where people need to come, maybe have to worship and stuff. And, we normally do service online these days. But yesterday people actually wanted to come pay visit for the Easter, but that was not feasible at all. It wasn't feasible at all. So to cut the long story short, they had to prepare the normal rice and some good meat.
Wow.
Thank God, like the lockdown actually exempted some people, like the food vendors, and also we're able to get those necessary recipe for the meals we had to prepare yesterday. So, but I think I missed that fact where we all need to eat from the same plate. We couldn't just do that yesterday.
Or you had to invite people to come around, share the Easter.
And then you have a lot of made too in the food. The supply chain has really been affected with this lockdown. The supply chain has really been affected. A bag of tomatoes now could go for almost, say, 10,000 naira or more.
Yeah,
and
it's very high.
It's very, very high. There's increase in almost everything.
Wow. Okay, away from our personal experiences, let's look at the probable experiences of Nigerians and even the world at large will be having out there as a result of this lockdown, because most countries of the world, recall that about 210 countries of the world are being ravaged by this pandemic at the moment. And then one of the most visible and potent measure that the leadership of these various countries have been doing is the fact that everybody needs to stay at home, because like you rightly pointed out before we came on air, that once we stop moving, the virus stops moving. So what do you think are the probable situation Nigerians or experience Nigerians will be having out there and even the world at large?
Considering the people that make a living from daily earnings, it's going to be very difficult because we're talking about the taxi drivers, we're talking about the
that's artisans
generally. It's going to be really challenging for them because I know a lot of people that on a daily they should make up to, say, 2,000 naira with kids and their family and everything, and now most of them can't even go out. Some of them even, when they even set out, they can't even make up to 1,500 naira. It's really going to be very, very difficult for them.
Okay, Gigi, what do you think about this?
It's quite sad. Let's look at businessmen and businesswomen that have to go out to to make ends meet. Just get to make sales and all that. But it's not just happening right now. There's lots of pressure.
Lots of pressure.
Increase. People are just lamenting, and it just looks like the whole lockdown is not coming to an end. It's just it's extending, and people are just I've gotten to see clips and stories. Every single day, people are crying, calling on government to make palliatives or provisions for themselves, as well as
in order to cushion the effect of the lockdown.
Yes, and it's quite sad. It's just quite sad.
Okay, yeah, we've actually seen clips of people pouring out their grievances concerning this, even though we know the importance and the significance of the lockdown.
Yes.
But one thing we came to realize yesterday was just what do I call it now? Indiscriminate harassment of residents by men of the underworld, like in Ogun State and Lagos precisely. We saw clips of people alleging that some hoodlums actually broke into their houses and people couldn't sleep. They had to turn, like the men of the vigilante, they had to keep a vigil last night
For themselves.
last night. What do we think actually brought about this?
I think it's a reaction of the extension of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay, not really know the fact that after the lockdown or in the course of this lockdown, the crime rate would increase.
Yes.
Okay, but yesterday I saw on the internet that there were harassments, robbery, rapings, killings possible, and all that, and that has actually drawn our attention now to the fact that there's supposed to be modalities put in place to manage this, because if you keep those people at home without food or anything, they would end up robbing, killing, violence. They're just out. It's going to be really crazy. So
this is more like a situation of people being pushed to the wall
Yes.
and then bouncing back.
back.
But we have to make it straight and clear that the crime is never justified.
Yeah,
Like, there's no reason,
that's
there's
true.
no justification for crime.
Yeah.
But these are some of those things we can't just run away from them.
No,
We can't
when
run-
we have preventive measures for coronavirus,
Yeah.
and there's supposed to be
be
preventive measures
made
to
available.
avoid this, because a lot of
negative effect of the lockdown.
Yes, a lot of people are not criminals. Okay, they are just trying to make a living, and that's why we should understand that we don't just outrule the fact that they are in a place.
You're right.
They don't have food, they don't have shelter. Most of them, they can't even. They have kids, they have wives, they have families.
This draws my attention to a clip I watched of a guy. Just your youths, just lamenting. I was like, I beg me to make provision available. We go rob guys, go enter streets.
Yeah,
you
I
understand?
also saw a
And
video.
it was bitter. Like that was him saying what is actually going to happen, what they are going to
Imagine.
do with no fear. I was even saying that was a risk for him to even pour out himself
His
out there
anger.
to say we go crime go start, we go robbery and all that. You understand?
We actually saw
another
another clip yesterday where someone had to strip because he was out trying to get food for
his
his
family, and he
and-
was lamenting. I also saw another video where I think traders were carrying food produce from a particular location to another location, and they were robbed.
Oh my
And they
God.
were robbed. This is produce, tomatoes, vegetables. It's ordinarily, this isn't what you would have to steal. Okay, but you now discover that people have been pushed to the wall and have damned the consequences and are going for food.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about people actually trying to do anything and everything possible
To survive.
for them to survive.
Yes.
And then
More
that
like
actually
survival
brought,
of the fittest.
Yes,
like
true.
in this lockdown era where we can't just go out, our phones happens to be our legs and our cars and everything.
Yeah.
So we travel with our phones and
Yeah.
then we make use of the internet to know what's happening in the neighborhood and around the world. I actually saw a clip yesterday talking about things people are ready to do just to stay alive, of an elderly woman who went on a live video that she was ready to sleep with any man just to
I
get
think I
money.
saw it,
Yeah,
yes.
just to get money to feed her kids.
Ah.
And like people, they had to quiz her, like ask her questions. She was like, "That one is better than stealing or stuff."
Yes.
It got to the notice of Don Jazzy, and he had to come through, bail the woman out with a sum of 100,000. I saw that on Twitter precisely.
Yes, I think
To help her out, right?
I think as a nation, as a body, we should act as one, and we should provide basic things for people.
Yeah,
Okay,
of
for instance, you have food. You have food that can carry you for 10 days and more, and you know that there's a lockdown, and this food can carry you and somebody else for a longer period. Why don't you just share?
Okay.
We should live with one another in mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Recall that on the 29th of March precisely, President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, in a national broadcast, declared the stay-at-home order in order to curb the further spread
Of the
of the virus. And then he actually, and then when if you see the excerpt of the address, there were certain issues that were touched in that. But come to the implementation of it is what Nigerians are trying to look at now. We have to just talk about that on the show this afternoon.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, okay, this lockdown, we all know the significance and the importance of this lockdown, which is to generally curb the further spread of this virus. But the main aim is just to identify and trace and isolate people who must have come in contact with the confirmed cases, the index cases in different locations or region. Okay, now that this lockdown has been enforced, and we saw that, okay, actually we just made mention of, okay, if we stop moving, the virus stop moving, which made the lockdown very, very important. But which other way, or like you were talking about modalities being put in place to cushion the effect of this lockdown on Nigerians, what do we think would have been done and is not done? Or let's talk about the implementation of some of these key areas that were touched during the national broadcast of the president.
Like Fuchi said about making available modalities, like provisions and all. For instance, within your locality, your locality, your environment, your community, as much as you can make, food available to people around you. And also, you before we came on, she was talking about masks being made available. For instance, when like the states we talked about that had
Governor Sheyi Makinde,
exactly that
your state,
that had to make provisions, people to set up masks for people around that you cannot move without wearing masks. So you can imagine that if this kind of amenities, this kind of stuff can be made available. For instance, you have
generally palliatives, but I want us to break it down. Like palliatives, people were actually calling for finances to be disbursed to different families with BVN. There was a way people were actually agitating for this whole thing to be done, and then we were trying to analyze the positive effect and the negative effect if they're actually done this way. So let's take a look at, okay, palliatives. We were talking about some other countries of the world where they supply food and then people are actually yearning for disbursement of funds. And we made reference to, okay, even in some cases where data were generated or collected for these palliatives to be disbursed, people are actually crying of being marginalized, in quote, that way to use, where, okay, they come around and they have to ask you, all right, do you have kids? Are you
a widow?
Don't we think we actually need to have this database where, okay, these indigent people around the world or around the country should have been known before now, so that it will help us manage situations like this whenever they arise.
Yeah, that would have been a very, very amazing idea. But coupled with the fact that, in today's world, data collection is a big deal. Yeah. Okay, I would advise that,
especially in this part of the world.
In this part of the world, so I would advise better that relief items and foods are being released to these people, because a lot of people, would come up with the idea of, I am not from this part of the country, and that's why I'm being treated the way I'm treated. And if we want to talk about funds now, for instance, a family of 10, all of them have
different account numbers and different BVNs.
So are you saying that
if you're spending money, actually all of them would just have to benefit and have more, like extra.
Then what about those people by the seaside? What about those people living in batches,
in the
rural areas?
Yes, would they benefit?
Would they benefit? They don't even have an account number.
Okay.
They don't even use POS or go to banks. So how would they do this? They earn on a daily. They make their money from this. They are at home. You've asked them to stay at home. So how do you expect them to have access to this?
And another shortcoming with the disbursement of funds is that someone was trying to look at it from the economic point of view, where he said, don't we think, or he was just asking, will there be a possible inflation when we have much cash in circulation? Someone was actually trying to look into that, and we have to look into that as well. So, like, I'm trying to agree with what you said. Instead of banking on the disbursement of these funds, it would be better if these palliatives come in form of relief items, like the food, because most people what they basically need now, what they are yearning for now, is just for them to eat and stay alive.
That's the thing.
Because even if you give them the money, they are going to buy food. But how well or how far can this money go when there's an inflation?
Even this food you are going to buy from the markets, we know that the prices have all increased.
Apart from the prices, we're talking about the supply chain being broken.
Exactly, because a lot of farmers are not going to the farm anymore. So if a farmer doesn't go to the farm, how do we get the food?
So now,
that's a very, very, it's something we should really look into. If the farmer doesn't go to the farm, how do we get the food? And so if we don't get the food, how do we stay alive? So since the government want to, set up palliative measures to curb this, I think that they should provide an avenue for the farmers to be able to reach their farms, produce, get these things, and then you release it to people. A lot of people don't even need the money. They need the food, like you said, to stay alive.
Experiences of the lockdown in regards with regards to COVID-19 is what we're talking about. And then I like the way you started this when you were talking about the artisans who have to go out there to hustle out their daily bread in order for them to live and survive. And then Jojo actually jumped the broom and talked about the governor of Oyo State, Governor Sheyi Makinde, of trying to approach this differently from what we've seen. Let's analyze that situation where, okay, if you take a look at one of the countries that have been able to manage this pandemic very, very efficiently, is Czech Republic. And then Governor of Oyo State actually pointed our attention to how it's been done there. And he said, there's a lockdown, but it's not total. You are allowed to go about your business and go out there, but there are certain measures you need to take.
Put in place.
And then he talked about, okay, if you are going out in Czech Republic, you must go out with your face mask. Because if you, when the president gave that order, the stay-at-home order in his national broadcast on the 29th of March precisely, it was highlighted to be in 3 states: Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun. But subsequently, we saw other state governors enforcing that buying into the idea, which is actually a very good one. And then Oyo State happens to be one of the states which didn't do that. And people were concerned and they had to ask him. And so he came up with his analysis and we're looking into it now. So in Czech Republic, you can go out, but you must go with your face mask. Then this man thought, he said, okay, he wouldn't want to be adamant to the plight of the artisans, because these people actually need to go out on a daily to hustle what they need to eat and feed on. So this man said, okay, instead of, because he took into consideration the proximity of the bordering state to Oyo, which are under the lockdown. So he said it's actually having so much effect on the people already. So if he said he should declare a lockdown in his state, it's going to be a very huge one on them. So taking into consideration the plight of the artisans, he said, okay, he's thinking of adopting the approach that's been adopted in Czech Republic. So he said, okay, it's going to provide, okay, if you will go out, you must go with a face mask. And then he looked deeper and said, okay, how about the indigent people who will not be able, they will not be able to afford the mask, the face mask. Then he said he's thinking of having the tailors around the state come together, where the state, the government will provide funds for them.
mass production of this face mask.
And then they produce this mask and hand over to people.
Yes, I buy into that idea. I buy into it because, you know, putting into consideration the fact that a lot of these artisans are there and, you know, they have skills that can help us in these trying times of the pandemic. And then also considering the fact that there are a lot of people that can't have access to it, because I think it went from 50 naira, the face mask went from 50 naira to like a 550 or so. Yes, so you can see the hike in it. And then how do they afford this? Because a lot of people even, you know, on a daily, they feed on 500 naira. So how would they use the money for feeding to purchase one face mask? So Governor Sheyi Makinde has actually done brilliantly, but also putting into consideration of the fact that the people,
that are
the artisans that will be producing this, they have to be scrutinized. They have to be scrutinized
to see that they are not already infected.
They are not already infected, because if one face mask is infected,
the rest, everyone is just it's going to push the spread of the virus.
And then also we have to consider the fact that the health minister or the health commissioner has to look into the production, the materials being used. The materials being used, the circulation and all, to make sure that, okay, there are no infected persons, the materials are conducive for breathing, because there are a lot of people that can't breathe in congested environments. So they have to checkmate all these factors and make sure that this is also conducive and healthy for people to use.
Oh, yes. Okay, Jojo, you were looking like you wanted to make a point of contribution.
Yes, I would say a good job, well done by the governor over there. So he actually made, in fact, he's one that has to be role model. Like, people have to follow suit to what he did. Now you're making an order and saying that people should come out, and then secondly, you're making a provision for it. That's the marks itself. So that's a good one. Not just putting people in isolation. People are not feeding, or people are just going through one thing or the other. But this provision has been made available to them as well. So that's a good one. And people like our states, some leaders can actually role model that, make available palliatives and things that will actually ease the spread of this virus.
Governor Shane Makinde is one person who has displayed stellar leadership qualities over time since he came to office. Okay, it's still APR Mid Day Feed, and you are in the studio with your one and only radio best friend Elvis Oga, and Stargate Jojo is in the building as well, and Energy Goddess Fulfillment Fuchi. All right, we go on a short time out, and we'll be back in a jiffy. Please stay tuned.
The world has been brought together to form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus, or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap, or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol.
These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. If you reside in Nigeria, please call this number for help. 080-097-000010. Please like and share this video. You can also follow us on our Instagram at African Patriot Radio News, and on Facebook at African Patriot Radio, and on Twitter at Patriot Radio 1.
All right, welcome back. It's still APR Mid Day Feed on your number one radio station, African Patriot Radio. And we are talking about the COVID-19 lockdown experiences amidst other situations or amidst other experiences during this lockdown. Elvis Oga is still right here. And
Stargirl Jojo is right here.
And Energy Goddess Fulfillment.
okay, before now, we've been able to establish what actually brought about the lockdown in Nigeria and the world at large, and we told you it's actually to curb the further spread of the virus. And we were actually talking about some experiences we've had on a personal note, and then the probable one from other Nigerians and the world at large. And before we went on that break, and we also still have to talk about the ways these experiences have had effect on us in one way or the other. Actually, like let's set the ball rolling. Before this lockdown of a thing, there are some certain things you feel you can't do without. But the lockdown has actually exposed us, yes, to the fact that there are some things you can. So at the end of this, there are some things. Let me complete that sentence. There are some things you can do without, and we normally do those things. We consider them frivolous, but we can't just stay away from them. But this experience has exposed us to the fact that we can do without them. And then at the end of this lockdown, we're going to see a whole lot of change in the behavioral pattern of individuals. So let's get to talk about that. What do you think will change after the lockdown?
You know, it said that what's a habit you develop and continue for 21 days.
It's a habit.
It
Whatever you do
for 21 days becomes a habit. And so a lot of people now have taken note of their hygiene. They're being very particular about washing their hands, keeping their surroundings clean, their gutters, weeding, and the rest. So I hope that this continues, because personally, I can tell you that I have to apply hand sanitizers and then try to clean my phones, because I know that, okay, these are things around me and that can possibly expose me to the virus. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I remember Jojo actually talking about a whole lot of things that we could see as at the end of this, in terms of a behavioral pattern and then different stuff. So Jojo, let's have you talk about that again.
Just like she said, the hygiene part of it. You know, when we actually have to build routines, for instance, taking notes that we have to wash our hands, using hand sanitizer.
Okay, Jojo, I feel like I should just hit this right.
What's
like
that?
you were talking about, we should not just look at the negative side of the lockdown, or we should actually look at the positive side, which is actually what you're talking about. But I just want us to give it that caption for us to flow properly. So
the positive side of
and
the
lockdown, and the negative side, like you were saying, okay, most people feel okay, we are not confined in a particular environment. People will be feeling bad, feeling bored psychologically, they will be affected and all. But you were able to point my attention to the fact that there are some positivity we can actually derive from this lockdown.
Talking about positivity, I think you're trying to remind me of my bonding part of it, where we have family bonding.
Exactly, that's what I want to bring out.
Yes, talking about family bonding, you know, most times our parents may have been far from their kids, probably going to work and stuff, and children will be going to school and all that. But right now, stay at home has actually made this bond together. Unit is stronger, exactly. Now
and then people could just become more family.
More family. True, more family.
Exactly, more family. I don't want to talk about us like right now. If I talk about us, talking about us, like we get to, you know, because of the whole lockdown situation, we get to, you know, most times come together, talk and all that. I was talking about my friend that I had to call and say I wanted to come visit, and she was like, no, my dad said this. No, that makes me, if I don't have a communication with her, if I don't get to call her on phone, you just think about it, that bond somehow would just start to drop. You know, this is someone I get to see every day. We get to talk to every day. But now the whole lockdown has just kept us isolated from each other. So now what I'm trying to talk about the bonding is that when you have your family around you, when you have people that surround you, now you get to bond with them, you get to talk, deep conversations take place at that moment. You get to know the things that people do not know, like the character, their behavior and all that. You get to study it, and even they are not like what I think it was how you said it, how you started saying it, that things you wouldn't take, you start to, you know, adapt to it.
Exactly.
Like my mom is so super annoying, but right now I understand how better.
True. You become more family.
I become more family. I get to bond with her right now, and she's. So now this is the time I have to talk to her. So I had to even address that situation. Mom, I don't like how you're doing this. I don't like how this is done and stuff. So now she's gradually becoming sweeter and sweeter. So the bonding is the positive side of it.
Okay, like we were actually talking about some people that actually, we are saying stay at home or the lockdown is just to cushion the further or curb the further spread of this virus. And then we've seen the situations where some people came out to tell us, okay, some of us don't have homes, so where do you expect us to stay? And that brought us to the point where we talked about that's off air anyways, where we talk about some people having to resort to worship centers, like they are jam-packed in these worship centers, and they have to come out and then interact with other people. Since the lockdown is not total, we have some exception like the financial institution and the food vendors, healthcare services. So what do we think will become of the entire situation when people actually go back and then sleep in Costa? Let me just put it short. We get to experience the lockdown, but forget about the social distance.
Yeah, you know, some time ago, after the close of work, I got to discover that there were these people that stay on the road, that some of them are wheelbarrow pushers, some of them do other things to survive on a daily, while some of them are these elderly people that beg for alms on the way. And then I realized that all of them were packed in a religious house where they all tend to sleep together, and then in the next day everybody goes out for their hustles. And then in the course of this lockdown, how many of them would have the ability to, how do I put it now? They have the ability to just stay in and absorb hunger. These are old people, elderly. Okay, we have the children with them. We have their wives. Most of them are even sick and disabled. And to an extent, it is actually very alarming that these people stay together in a congested room or a congested house. And then when they just damn the consequences and then go out to make money, how are we sure they don't get exposed outside? And then when they get infected, they go back to this large population of people they are sleeping with in the house, and then infect them. And those ones go to another person, and the other person, it's a ring. It's a ring, it's a chain. And it keeps on going and passing on from person to person. And that will bring me to advising that if you know you can feed 2 people, if you have food to feed 2 people, try to minimize to feed 4 people. Because, when, like we said, when we move, the virus moves. And when we stop moving, the virus stops moving. So we should try to help people and stop people from moving, to circulate, to avoid the circulation of this virus. Because right now, I can tell you that a lot of people will damn the consequences in no time.
Okay, another very important and cogent aspect of the entire lockdown experience we need to look at, and we should turn a blind eye and deaf ears to, is what we hear concerning the virus. We were talking about people having imaginary symptoms already because of so much things they hear. So if, as a listener, if you are listening to us right now, we just want to let you know that there are some certain source of information you just have to be careful of, because some are out there to just create panic, scare you. And then when they're able to sell that fear to you, you start having imaginary symptoms. Normally, nothing is wrong with you, but before you know, you start feeling like, okay, you're no longer okay, you're no longer all right. We need to look at that aspect of the experience as well. The people that maybe must have had their psychology messed up already because of the false information they have been receiving from different areas.
I feel on the low key, people have experienced imaginary symptoms. You understand? Probably coughing or having headache and dizziness and all that. People would just, out of fear, jump into conclusion coronavirus. You understand? Well, come on, this is not to put people in fear and panic. The best you can do is either go for a checkup, or better still have yourself checked. Probably just, you have yourself, do the little you can do. Probably taking paracetamol first to see if this can ease your that situation. Probably you have a headache. Don't jump into conclusion thinking that you have this virus. You understand? But better still, the preventive measures are just very important.
We'll get to talk about that before we sign out. Fuji, you wanted to say something.
1/3 of Nigerians have experienced imaginary symptoms. Not ruling of the fact that what kills is not the disease, it's the panic and the fear.
Exactly.
So when you harbor fear and panic in you, you'll discover that you tend to fall short already, even before you even get diagnosed of any form of sickness or whatever. So I think imaginary symptoms might be there, but it's for you to know that, okay, I am doing the basic things I'm supposed to be doing. Try to eat food, try to do or take a lot of water, and observe the preventive measures. And also not forgetting the fact that the coronavirus we've had discharge cases of people. So it's not a death sentence. You will live it through. Like we have conquered malaria now in Nigeria. We can conquer coronavirus. Okay, so you don't have to rely on the fact that, okay, coronavirus is killing more people and a lot of people are dying, and then I might not die. Look at yourself as one of those people that will survive coronavirus.
We've had recovery.
Okay, talking about the possible after effect of the lockdown. Like when we're talking about, there are some things you thought you couldn't do without, but you end up, or you discover that okay, you can actually do without those things. And we said that this will definitely lead into a change in behavioral pattern when we out of this pandemic and everything. So let's get to talk about the hygiene culture being restored back. So the hygiene culture being restored back, because we've noticed people washing their hands more frequently, which ordinarily we were not supposed to wait for an epidemic or pandemic for us
To do that,
Do
yes,
that.
true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, so this will actually build up themselves, like have that become their habit, you know, of hygienic, keeping your environment clean and washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, even after this lockdown. Like you said, what will you do
For 21
for
days.
21
Exactly, for
becomes
21
a
days.
habit.
Habit,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So now this will actually build up the hygiene, like for people around. You don't have to be told to wash your hands. You don't have to be told to keep your environment clean. So I think somehow, even after this lockdown, even after this pandemic is over, people would still be conscious about being clean. People would still be conscious about doing the things that they would do, drinking water, all those things to prevent the virus or to just keep the environment clean.
Okay.
So those are things that would.
There's a point that's actually welling up in my inside, but I'm trying to like hold it down for the preventive measure. But I don't know if it will escape my memory or my head. So let's get to talk about it now. Then maybe we elaborate on it when we're talking about the preventive measures.
Okay.
I remember during one of a hygiene program I was doing way back, and I was agitating for sanitary buckets to be kept maybe at the entrance of every organization of every home, where when you get in there you wash your hand, because I was actually looking at how the transmission of some certain germs from different surfaces into the human system. And then I remember Fuchi sharing an experience where she went to an eatery, and then it goes beyond having this sanitary bucket, soap and water sanitizer placed at the strategic position. Their proper use matters a lot. Let's talk about the proper use of these things.
Okay, like for instance, my personal experience actually, I went to this place and then we had a bucket, like a dispenser bucket to wash your hands. There was soap and there was sanitary towels you used to clean up and then go into the place. And then I noticed that the security guard was the car who was monitoring vehicular movement. He was
Trying
opening
to pack
the door.
people well to create space.
And opening the door, he was in charge of the bucket to tell you, please go and wash your hands and all. And then I washed my hands. I opened up the tap and washed my hands. And when I was done washing my hands with the soap and water, I still used my hands to touch the lid of the tap to close it. And then to get sanitary towels to clean my hand, I had to now, touch from what every other person had touched to roll over to close my hands. And then when I got to the gates, because of the distraction and everything, he wasn't there. And I had to just out of, tiredness and haste, I had to just push the door open with my hands. And then getting to the counter, I realized that there were no hand sanitizers there
At the counter.
So
And people are resting their hands.
and resting their hands on the counter. So if in a situation like that, in a scenario like that, you had like 2 people or 3 people there. Okay, 2 people, 1 person in charge of the tap. The person in charge of the tap would have to put on a hand glove and then controls the tap. You open it, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. So you don't keep spreading. Because I might have washed my hands. How am I sure the other person washed properly? Or how am I sure there is no surface that has been touched by this person before the tap and all that? So I think that's something we should actually look into too. And I think there should be a regulatory body that controls these things. For instance, a body that monitors these essential services and make sure that they are the basic provision for these preventive measures and all. There should be a hand sanitizer. There should be a dispenser bucket, a washing bowl for you to do this, for you to do that. And if they don't observe this, okay, you close them down. Because if we don't look into this is health. And
health is wealth.
Health is wealth. Our immune systems are different. And so if you now do this and then you say, okay, let's just overlook it, it's a healthcare system, or it won't circulate, or it won't spread, we'll realize that we are the ones spreading, subconsciously spreading the virus. Okay, now, sorry, I would want us to look at the fact that you made mention of something, the perception of people about the coronavirus. I had a discussion with some people in the rural areas some time ago, and I realized that they were told that the coronavirus was something that was for only the elites in the community. They will call it big man disease, big man sickness. And that idea is something...
It's totally wrong.
It's totally wrong. Something we should really, really
I wonder whoever sold the idea
to people. Yes, and all of them, they just throw caution to the wind and they just do whatever it is they can do. They say, oh no, we'll catch us. Reach here because we are not big men. And they forget that you work for big men.
Exactly.
You come in contact with big men. Big men give you money. You open their gates, you open their doors, you touch their stuff. And then you do this and you take
you
it
run
back.
errands for them. You are their secretary at the office.
Now, who is the big man? Who is a big man? A big man, we are all humans. So what I think to an extent is that we have to elaborate on the ways this disease can be contacted. Because if not, we'll end up realizing that in the pursuit to curb the virus,
Yeah.
knowledge is being lost and it's not being taken into consideration.
Yeah.
They say knowledge is power. So the awareness of something would actually give you an edge to how best to manage it.
When you talk about knowledge being lost in the pursuit of trying to curb this virus, actually that reminds me of a post I saw from a friend of mine on the internet, Facebook precisely, where she was advising people, if you have any ailment you are managing before, don't forget to continue the treatment of that ailment.
True.
Maybe all in the bit to like, okay, you are concentrating on this one,
Coronavirus.
and then what you have already will come and kill you before what you not have
Very
and you're afraid
true.
of having.
Very
You
true.
get it?
Very true. Because we should also consider the fact that the way people are dying of the coronavirus, there are also people that have illnesses before. How are we so sure that they haven't? It isn't the illness they were suffering that has killed them.
Or still killing them.
Are still killing them.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
these people in these areas need to be sensitized on this because a lot of them don't wash their hands. I can tell you for a fact that I saw a woman some time ago. She wanted to get sugar cane, and then she just took it off the table and she was chewing.
Okay,
And
yeah,
what
talking
happened
about
to washing?
talking about the proper use of this or proper application of this preventive measure, which we actually go into that properly before we sign out. You shared your experience you had at a particular eatery, and then you were like, okay, what should have been done is that they should have someone there.
With a hand glove.
Put a hand glove.
And
That
a nose mask or face mask.
that is supposed to open this tap for you.
Yes.
That practically do everything for you without you having to touch any of those
anything.
things.
Because you're
Yes.
not the only one. There are a lot of people
Coming
come
in,
contact
yes.
with that. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Still talking about the possible change in behavioral pattern. I want us to link that to the issue where you talked about people who actually, I wouldn't want to call them destitute, but kind of homeless for now, and then that actually exposes us to the fact that it's quite unfortunate in this part of the world, or in this part of the world, we've lost our maintenance culture because way back. Some basic amenities or some basic provision that would actually help in situations like this were put in place. We actually grew up to see quarters or housing unit provided by the federal government in every local government of this country way back then. But unfortunately, those things were not maintained. They were left moribund, and then we don't have them in place today again. That will actually point our attention to the fact that we actually need these things. That reminds me how Nigerians take to heart when the Minister of Power Works and Housing during President Muhammadu Buhari's first term, or the person of Fashola, Babatunde Fashola, when he was talking about, funds are being set aside, or even housing units were being created for civil servants who couldn't afford that huge amount or humongous amount of money to build those houses at a go. So Nigeria actually took that to heart, and I want us to talk about that as well, like our maintenance culture as a people in this part of the world. We've seen that it has waned off already, but I think this will actually bring it back, so that whatever you have, you have to value it, because you might not need it now, but time is coming, you will definitely need it.
Important, true.
So making provision for housing, like you said, the government there. So it's actually it will be quite nice for government to look into that aspect, making provisions for housing and accommodation, very important for especially for people out there, the less privileged or the destitute rather, that do not have this. Because now looking at the whole pandemic situation now, the COVID-19, a lot of people out there are homeless. A lot of people out there do not have where to stay. So the maintenance culture, the provision for housing, accommodation for people out there that do not have is actually has to be taken into effect, from the government or from people out there.
Or else we'll just be embarking in an exercise in futility.
Infertility, exactly.
Because when you say no movement, and then there are exemptions to the lockdown.
I was sharing with Fuchi. I was okay. I think one of us generally of a clip I saw. This military man beating up people outside, and there's this particular man that was well beaten and was brutal, like injuries around his face. So when people were running away, they realized that one person did not run. The man was still there. So when they got to find out, or when they had to ask him some questions, they discovered that he was homeless. They discovered he didn't have anywhere to stay. He didn't even have food to eat. It was so sad. Guess what they did? This military men that beat him up actually were the ones that wrapped his wounds up and actually started treating him. So they discovered that he didn't have a place to stay. See how sad that is.
Yeah, but
that actually have to point our attention to the fact that the way we talk to people matters a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have
you
to
don't
approach
know what
people.
this, you know, people go through out there.
Approach matters
It
a lot.
matters.
Also talking about the fact that you mentioned the things about looking into housing and development and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. In the case of this pandemic situation right now, we cannot build houses.
No, not at all.
We cannot set up a duplex or a bungalow and say, okay, people should move in,
Or hostels.
or
as
a
the case may
hostel.
be.
No, because the people that will build this are also people that are in isolation and in their houses. So I think that in other parts of the world where we have shelter homes for people that can't afford housing and all that, we should create something of such here. It doesn't have to be with the classy looking, but it has to be conducive and comfortable enough for people to stay in. You could create a big hall and provide sleeping spaces for people, because a lot of these people go out and truly they don't have where to stay. A lot of people sleep in front of people's shops and wait till night, and then when the people have closed down their shops, they sleep in front of the shop back. So these are things we should look into. Also considering the fact that we all are a family. Like I said, people are in the course of this pandemic situation, we are becoming more family.
Yes.
So if you realize that, okay, yes, to an extent, I can't trust this person to bring him into my house, try to feed. It's not just about the housing now. It's about looking out for this person. How can you help this person? How can you provide for this person? How can you aid the living of this person?
There's a very sensitive issue as regard to this pandemic, coronavirus pandemic. We need to look into.
Okay.
We are privy to the information that so many people around the world, like we've seen some of these public figures, football players, entertainers, celebrities. We've seen them donated some of their big hotels, their houses, for isolation centers. And we've heard about some worship centers in Nigeria as well. Donate their facilities
and
as
relief materials
as isolation centers.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we are now looking out for people who are infected already or who are suspected to be infected already by providing isolation center for them. How about people who are out there that are yet to be infected, are yet to be suspected to be infected, and then okay, but they don't have places to stay like we are talking about. I want us to drive this home now. That's why I brought it up. Okay, don't you think we actually need to provide places for them as well to reduce the exposure of these people? Else, we keep going around the clock, like we keep going around the circle.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. That we are not. I'm not talking about the infected persons right now.
Okay.
I'm talking about providing shelter homes for every Nigerian that cannot afford.
I get your point, but what I'm trying to say is that the way we've seen in large scale the donation of these facilities for isolation, how do we get to see them for people who don't have home to stay or have houses to stay at the moment? That's
in constructing a shelter home wouldn't be as expensive as constructing apartments for people to stay. You know that. And so if we have say 30 million people on the streets, homeless people on the street, and then you build a home or a hall where you can camp these people with the basic facilities, water, electricity, and then bedding space. Yes, we don't even talk about food. Just make sure that they have where to lay their heads. This would go a long way. Not talking about the infected persons here. The infected persons too will be taken to the isolation centers, and when they're out of the isolation centers, they're taken to shelter homes, which is actually very important. But the creation of these shelter homes for every Nigerian is important. It's very important.
This is more like a situation we have to look at the long run or in long term,
Yes,
because like
true.
you rightly pointed out, it won't be easy to start setting up or building houses at the
Now,
moment.
it's very true.
But since we've been looking at different ways to diversify Nigerians' economy and to do all of that, our leaders should look at this at the long run, because what you just mentioned now, you might think it's small, but trust me, by the time they set up these hostels for people, the indigent people or the less privileged who can't afford houses or housing on their own, do you know that people that are supposed to cook for them will be employed? That's one part of creating employment. People that are going to build this is creating employment for them. Like I'm talking about this on the long run now, because I'm saying this pandemic will definitely expose us to several factors, to many things. At the end of the day, we are expecting to see positive behavioral pattern changing that. Okay, it's still APR Mid Day Feed, and we are talking about COVID-19 lockdown experiences. You can join the conversation by dropping your comment and reaction on our Facebook. You can actually call us if you are opportune to be close to your phone and you have unit on your phone. The number to reach us still remains 0811 448 6568. Don't forget the country code is +234. All right. Before we move forward, let's still get to talk about like things we think should have been done differently for this, for the significance or the importance or the aim of this lockdown to be fully achieved. Things they should have done separately.
Yeah, considering the fact that the lockdown came at a time where nobody was expecting it, yes, I would have, advised that a specific time should have been given for people to get prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, for people to channel their minds and resources to the fact that, okay, we are going on a lockdown for 14 days and, we have a lot of things to put in place. We have to get to the market and all that. I think people have doubled their hustle before the lockdown. They would have tried their possible best to make ends meet before the lockdown. And I think to an extent that the government should have provided some enough palliatives for people to bank on in the course of this lockdown, because yes, I understand that it came at a point where we knew that this was the problem and there was just no other way to achieve this, but also you're also saying people should sit back in their houses, and there is nothing. So they would go rogue on us and everybody, and then the crime rate would increase.
One good thing about speaking up is the fact that we have people who are actually listening to whatever you say out there. Just yesterday, it was in the news that President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, actually ordered the National Institute for Grain Reserve to actually dish out about 70,000 grams of grains from this institute so that it can be given to the downtrodden or the indigent people.
Yes, they are listening because they listen. For me, I believe they listen because they had to relieve the ban and allow people to go to markets 3 times a week from 10 to 12. So that means they listen. They understand the plight of the people, and that's why they are looking into this. Because ordinarily they would have said, we're trying to curb the spread of the virus, everybody sits back in your houses. But now it has been opened. You can go to the market, you can get whatever it is you want to get. And from a specific time of 10 o'clock a.m. to
this time,
2 p.m. So once you have breached this agreement or breached this order, then whatever punishment that's be meted on you is your fault.
Okay. All right, talking about a COVID-19 lockdown experience, we've seen people come up with different challenge to just ease off the boredom that actually accompanies situations like this. Let's get to talk about that. The different challenges we've seen: pillow challenge, Bob Daddy challenge, workout challenge,
stay home challenge.
It's really crazy, like what people do right now. But I know it's just a way to just ease the boredom
and depression.
Come on, let's see, we're not talking about the boredom part of it. We've not talked about that aspect, like what people face in there. Like aside from the economic challenges and all that, people are bored. True, people are bored. So a lot of people are just coming up with things that will just keep them, doing up and doing and stuff. So a lot of challenges, pillow challenges, and we saw a lot of pictures, people posting up and down, making videos. I think recently I almost joined in one of the challenges.
Which one particularly? The dance?
I took the Bible challenge. So someone posted, really? And somehow it's cool and it's beneficial. Someone could just come and be like, do this and I'll give you 15K, do this I'll give you 5K, do this I'll give you 7K. So I took the Bible challenge though. So someone said, memorize Psalm 91, post a video of yourself memorizing it without looking at the Bible or anything. Don't copy, So a lot of people put in that challenge. A lot of people did it, posted. It was quite fun and it was quite helpful. Just looking at the positive side of it, you're able to memorize the scripture and you're able to keep it in your head, fear and stuff. So a lot of challenges happening. How about have you had experience about any of them?
No, I have seen challenges happen on social media, but I have not engaged in any because I have seen that a lot of people have devised means to stay happy. Yes, it's a medium to curb depression.
Exactly.
It is also a medium to share because when you're telling someone do this, the person is doing it happily and joyfully, and you know you're going to get money from it.
Yeah.
It's encouraging.
Yes, and unconsciously taking their mind
Off
off the
a lot
worry.
of things.
Yes,
Off a lot of
yes,
things. You know,
yes.
I saw a video of some kids that challenged themselves to spell.
Wow.
And so the person that gets the more words gets an ice cream, a cup of ice cream.
Wow.
And then this is actually not just the adults now. The children too are also bored of staying at home because a lot of them want to go to school. And
You
when
know, these kids are the people that have this energy, this youthful energy to burn
do
out.
it.
So
Yeah.
when this energy is being kept and is not used, it becomes a problem.
it becomes a very big problem because also, you know, the stay at home challenge, I saw that you just have to upload a video of yourself doing something.
Something.
And this exposes people to being productive.
Exactly. That's what I want
A lot of people now are being productive.
They get to discover
You know,
their
I for
innate
one,
talent.
I for one, you never used to be this social media savvy person.
Okay.
I never used to even like staying on social media. But nowadays I realize that amidst the boredom and everything, just scroll down Twitter or scroll down Facebook or Instagram and you're seeing things happen. It's even challenging you.
to do
Yes.
something.
Yes,
Yeah.
you see
Motivate
workout
you.
challenge,
Yeah,
you see
motivate
feeding
you.
healthy, eating healthy challenge and all that. So I think to an extent there's actually a positive side to this.
Wow.
And it's also it's also making us more family.
Okay, let's try our creative and our alert level now. So what challenge do you think we can just come up with?
Oh. What challenge?
What challenge?
Time is ticking.
What challenge?
Time
What
is
challenge?
ticking.
What challenge? What challenge? What
Oh my
challenge?
god.
Tongue
Okay.
twisting challenge.
Tongue twisting challenge.
Exactly. You know,
Yes.
talking about tongue twisting challenge.
You almost joined that too.
I think I was
Like you did some
I
sample.
love to do tongue twisting challenge. I've done that before. Yeah, talking about tongue twisting. Yeah, I just remember.
I heard you.
I
doing
did one. Yes, I did one. So we're gonna put this out. Like people are gonna do right.
Okay, let's do another one that will be relative to our work and
Yeah.
then make us more productive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. As media people, you bring out positive news about the lockdown every day. How about that?
True. He sensitized people on the lockdown and how best they can handle it. It's
Yeah.
very, very important.
Very
That's our own challenge. Yeah, good girl.
That's quite good. It's still APR Midday Feed, and we are discussing the lockdown, our COVID-19 lockdown experiences, and we're highlighting different experiences we've had on a personal note, and people out there are actually putting out on the social media, and the probable one you are having out there. You can actually join the conversation through our social media platform. For now is African Patriot Radio, www.facebook.com/African Patriot Radio/videos. Just drop your reaction or your comment. Let's get to know how you coping amidst the lockdown situation. We go for another short timeout, and when we return, we continue with the program. Please stay with us and don't go away.
Hello, it's another day on African Patriot Radio, where we are poised at keeping you up to date with the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Josephine Paul. The coronavirus COVID-19 is real and rapidly taking over the world, with about 5 new cases now confirmed in Nigeria, making a total number of 36 confirmed cases, 33 active cases, 2 discharged, and 1 dead recorded as at 10:35 a.m. of March 2020. The question most people are asking is, how do I know I have been infected with the virus? Here are some of the early warning symptoms that would need you to check into a health facility for proper diagnosis. Fever, cough, shortness of breath, itching, dry cough, dry throat. And here are some emergency warning signs or symptoms. They include troubled breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, bluish lips or face. These symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. So be alert, spread the news and not the virus. In case of any emergency, you can also call 080-097-000-010. You can also follow our social media handles or like and share. From African Patriot Radio, I am Josephine Paul.
Welcome back to APR Midday Feed. So before we take a break, we're talking about the COVID-19 experiences, the lockdown experiences, and we got to talk about the challenges that people are onto right now. So quickly, we're going to be taking the news on the hour with Elvis Oga.
Time check Africa. The time is 3 o'clock in West Africa, 5 o'clock in East Africa, and 2 o'clock in South and Central Africa. Here is information on African news reaching you from African Patriot Radio. You can listen to this broadcast on the live streaming at www.facebook.com/African Patriot Radio/videos. My name is Elvis Oga. 5 more positive cases of the coronavirus have been recorded in Nigeria, raising the number of total infections in the country to 323. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, confirmed the new cases in a tweet on Sunday evening. The Justice Minister of Hirashabe State, Khalif Mumin Toho, has died after contracting the novel coronavirus, the second recorded death in the country. Toho died on Sunday in Mogadishu's Martini Hospital a day after he tested positive for COVID-19 in the town of Johar, the administrative capital of Hishabel. In business, the African Union AU has appointed former Credit Suisse boss Tijan Fiam and several other dignitaries as special envoys to solicit international support to help the continent deal with economic impact of the coronavirus. The envoy team, which was named by the AU chairman South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, also include former Nigerian Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, former South African Finance Minister Trevor Manuel, and Donald Kaberuka, former President and Chairman of the African Development Bank. From the world of entertainment, former Big Brother Niger housemates and lovers Messi Eke and Ike Onyema will be launching their reality TV show later this month. The duo shared a post on their social media pages recently to create awareness about the event. On sports, former Chelsea forward Didier Drogba has offered his hospital, the Laurent Pokou Hospital in Abidjan, to fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The head of the city's regional council, Vincent Toby, who considered the gift as an act of patriotism, thanked the former player. And our weather report for today shows Libya and Ghana are partly cloudy with 26 and 32 degrees Celsius respectively, while Tanzania has light rain showers with 28 degrees Celsius. And that was information African news as produced by Susan Achi. I'm Elvis Oga. Before we go, our African proverb for the day is a Kenyan proverb that says, the blame of the antelope us is the hunter. Good afternoon.
Welcome back. This is still the APR Midday Feed on African Patriot Radio. Right about now, we'll be talking about businesses and trades and how low-budget businesses and how you can manage and how you can scale and what it takes and what it entails to run a business, especially in this lockdown period where, you know, a lot of people have put their businesses on a hold because social distancing and observing precautionary measures. So what kind of businesses do you think a person should run in the period of the lockdown?
Before we go into that, can we just take a moment to talk about the patriotic gestures and humanitarian services people are out there rendering regarding the COVID-19 pandemic? We just heard the news of Didier Drogba donating his hospital for the COVID-19.
Sure.
He's truly a patriot, a definition of being a patriot.
Not a patriot.
Not a patriot. I like that.
Exactly. So that's a good word. That's a good effort to make. Do you understand? Not just looking at the government for making provisions of this fundings or palliatives. You out there, as much as you can be, as much as you're able to, you know, have make provisions, have these things, and you're putting out yourself to making provisions to. That's a good one. That's a good, you know, step there for him.
All right, that's by the way back to what Fuchi was talking about.
The trade?
Let's take a look at the trades.
Yes, I asked. I put up a question. I said,
okay.
What are the trades? What kind of trade do you think? What's the importance of trade? Okay, what is trade? What kind of what's the amount of money? What's the budget before you know you can become a business person? And in the course of this lockdown, how best can you thrive and trade?
Okay, I would like to go Jojo on us right now because I remember I trained a question at Jojo and she was like, we need to get a clear understanding of what it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get a clear understanding
Of
of
course, we know
what trade is.
we know what trade is about, buying and selling.
Yeah,
you
business
know,
generally.
business generally. So
With the sole aim of making profit.
profit,
Yeah.
exactly. You must really be very
We
good.
must make profit.
Exactly.
You know, that reminds me of, you know, back then in school where you have to memorize what trade is about, just a simple term and terminology basically about buying and selling. So when you just say aim of making profits, it just threw me back to primary school and all that. So of course we know that it's a buying and selling, business generally with the aim of making profits. So now with the whole lockdown situation, COVID-19 pandemic, and people have actually been on hold in their businesses, we can see how, you know, devastating that could be for business men and women. There's a lot of pressure. You know, most people are not able to meet the needs of their customers and all that. So what kind of business can one,
you know, there are
into?
some certain things, basic requirement. We call them basic requirement when it comes to doing business. But when you try to highlight on them, people feel it's for the big business ventures. But whether petty traders or big business ventures, consciously or unconsciously, we do some of those things. So the first step into going into any trade is taking a market survey, market sample, feasibility studies. You get so when you try to do that, okay, how do feasibility studies come into play during this situation? Lockdown has been declared and is being enforced at the moment, and then there are a few exemptions. So that is your feasibility studies. What are these exemptions? Because that is when you can actually go to buy and then without violating the stay-at-home order. Because when you violate that, you're no longer a patriot or you're no longer doing good. So you need to look at these few exemptions like the financial institution and other essential services, what they should need, and the rest, food vendors as well. So when you take that into consideration, that is when you can position your mind into what you can go into doing.
Yeah, I would also want to take our mind back to the importance of trade.
Okay.
You know, because as kids, as teenagers growing up, you know, a lot of people will say, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a
pilot.
Yes, and all that, with dreams and aspirations, and you grow up. But a lot of parents have forgotten or have not emphasized on the fact that we need to harness potentials in us. And that being a business person is not out of place. Okay, you can be an engineer and also have a flair for making shoes. You can be a pilot and also have a flair for sewing. It is not out of place. So when you put into the mind of that child and develop the idea of the fact that money is to be made and that you don't just dwell on a particular source of income, because trade is actually taking over the world in no time. Because right now, a lot of people are delving into making shoes, making bag, fashioning, and all that. And then you now consider
If you take a sample of the richest people in the world across different continents, you realize that they are businessmen.
They're businessmen. So business is what's making the wave.
Exactly.
From time immemorial, I can tell you that I've always had this thing for people that do business. There's this respect you have for them. How they're able to balance emotion and, you know, come up with
manage their resources.
manage
Most of
resources and
majority
then
of them
deliver.
are just self-employed themselves. Yes.
It's something that we should look into, because when kids grow to adults and you know, delve into various fields of life and without the basic understanding of the fact that you can be anything and still be something else. You know, I remember they would tell you, put your concentration on something. Say master of none, something about when you jack of all trades, master of none. And then it's wrong. Because if you're a jack of all trades, you're good at what you're doing, you'll be a master at everything you put your hand to do. So I think now understanding of trade is really important. Because for those people who are listening and watching us right now, trading is actually advisable. You don't go into trade because you feel Mr. A is selling shoes and you want to sell shoes.
Go for what you're passionate about.
Go for what is
talking about being passionate and talking about children themselves and parent. You know, let me throw a little light in there. Now, people have the understanding. Most people might have, you know, passion for business and for trading. You get. Now, I think that one of the challenges most people face, especially youths like us, especially children, is motivation and motivation, especially.
That is where they get to pick interest.
Yes. And I just urge that parents to try as much as possible after, you know, enlightening your children and giving them an understanding of what taking, for instance, your career, what you want to become in the future, enlightening them and giving them knowledge and understanding of business as well and trading is also very important. And also motivating them, telling them, yes, you can do this and you can become the best out of it.
Some schools are actually having this trade subjects.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do tie and dye, if you want to draw, if you want to cook, if you want to sew, if you want to do various trades, because trade comes in different forms and patterns. So it just for you to discover
with the sole
aim of making money. With the sole aim of making money. Yeah. So the thing is, if you were able to expose your child to this, even as youths, you know, a lot of youths now have sat back and felt, okay, I went to school, then there's no job. Government, you know, we keep blaming the government. The government hasn't provided this
hasn't
for
provided
me.
that.
Yes,
and most people are just sitting waiting for white collar job as well.
Yes. So why don't you go into the farms? You can go into farming, you can go into, you know, making hairs, you can go into fashion, you can go into anything. Yeah. Because there is, listen, in the world of business, there is a space for everybody. There is a space for everybody, and we should understand that.
Talking about motivating people into picking different things to do, I need to throw this quick one in there where we get to see parents force their children do what the parents want, not what the children are passionate about, what they're interested in. Like, this person have a doctor in their family, you must be a doctor. Have you asked that child?
Do or die.
Have you asked that child if medicine is his or her thing?
Yes. That's why because most parents, for instance, I know of someone that her dad was a lawyer, so he wants all his kids to go and read law. You understand? So there's so much pressure pushing them to do what you don't want to do,
and you get to see that they don't excel. I remember a particular story of a popular celebrity, an NBA star, where they asked the parents, okay, among your children, who is the most successful? And there's this daughter of this man, who is a doctor, or was he a lawyer, one of this profession. And this NBA star is one of the richest in the world. So everybody was expecting this man to call the NBA star. He said, no, that daughter is my most successful child. They asked him why. She is the only child that actually read what she wanted to read. Because the NBA star, the NBA star actually wanted medicine. He couldn't do it. So irrespective of the money he has, the dad never saw him as a successful man. You get that's the kind of culture we need to imbibe and teach our children. Exactly.
Now, sorry, let me just share a little story. Now, my brother actually loved to do things, you get, especially when he finished secondary school, like waiting admission and stuff. But my parents have this kind of mindset of always, you know, wanting to. It has to be book. Maybe you have to come out and just go and do venture all of these professional courses and become maybe a doctor, lawyer, and stuff. But they've never really given him concern, like never really pushed him or motivated him to go and learn all of this skillful stuff. But me, on the other hand, having this knowledge, you know what I did? I actually pushed my brother to go in to learn all of this stuff. And he learned shoe making rather, and he's doing well. And guess what?
That's what we're talking about.
My parents are not saying anything about it. Like they're not pushing him. Like they're all surprised. First of all, they're taking on our ways. Like they're just surprised about the whole successful way he's actually going about the shoemaking and stuff, and how it's just becoming. Regardless of the whole school, not going to school yet and not getting admission yet. But they've seen how far he's come with this. And then what can they say? They'll rather encourage. They'll rather just say that, be like proud of what he's becoming and achieving, and rather. So that's all kind of things that can happen.
Talking about the importance of trade, you know, even in the various field of endeavors, you know that trade comes in. That is why trade is so important to the point that even before the invention of the legal tender, that's the banknote and coins. There has been trade, and they were doing barter.
Trade by barter.
So business comes in whatever you choose to do.
Yes, true.
So let's go into business. One can actually do during this lockdown, and we're talking about taking feasibility studies to know the essential services that are being accepted. You now look into their needs, and then you go about how you can actually get their needs and then pass it across to them. So I want us to talk about maybe we all know that during this lockdown, food vendors are exempted. So how do we bring up business?
I like talking about in the earlier segments of the show where we spoke about the Easter celebration and how I had to call food vendors. Yes, I think food vending services is actually really, really, you know, important in this lockdown.
I want us to look at the importance,
Yeah.
how lucrative it is,
Yeah.
and how essential it is.
Yes. You know, a lot of people now don't have their ID cards. No, a lot of people are not essential services.
Yeah.
And they can't start, roaming about the streets trying to get one or two things. And then, okay, I know this food vendor that can give me this. And the food vendor has, say maybe an ID card or something that exempts him or her to walk on the streets or to move on the streets carefully. Though. And so you consider the fact that, okay, I can call this food vendor to get me whatever it is I need. And then I, on the other hand, sitting back in my house, will just have to make payments for this. That's paying for the service. Okay, because if you want to look into this, the food vendor has to go through the headache of looking for the ingredients and the supply for whatever it is you need, and making provision and packaging, and even then bringing it to your doorstep, which is something you wouldn't ordinarily have time to do, or is not exposed to do, considering the fact that you're not allowed to move around the street. So yes, I think it's something.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Okay,
it really is.
so how well and what are the requirements for one to venture into this business?
Okay, a lot of people think it's until you have millions before you can make
Exactly.
Go into a business or make more money. But let me speak like the average Nigerian would say. Now, money they use find money.
Exactly.
So, if you have say, let me say 50,000 naira for instance, and you can get, even if it's a quarter or half bag of rice, and then you can get your disposable plates, you can get your spoons and dough. Do you cook food that will be able to serve 50 people to an extent, depending on how your portion is. Their portions are in different grades and sizes. So depending on your portion, and the price to tag each portion you have segmented out. So I think even with 10,000 naira, you can start up something. You can even start to just fry plantain and say, okay, I'm your favorite plantain seller. I just look for what will make you stand out. And also, aside from standing out, in the course of this lockdown, everything is of essential need and request. So even if you're frying plantain and there is nothing so different about your plantain, you will sell.
In as much as we buy into the idea of, okay, maybe nothing so special about your plantain, but please, if you are going to be any business, take into consideration the safety of your prospective customers.
True, very true. Very, very true.
Very, very important.
Yes.
And then we have to actually look at, okay, when you were talking about the food vending services and all, and then people with ID cards and all, that is where branding and giving your business a face is highly important.
But we can't talk about brand. Okay, for somebody that just had to start up in the wake of the coronavirus, where do you want to brand?
Where do you want
so
to get?
I think
how do these people now move about when they don't have ID cards and all?
Most of these people are workers of different companies that are at home.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Most of these people are workers of different companies that are at home. They are not necessarily essential workers, but they have ID cards of different places they have worked. And so they could just present this and say, okay, this is what I am doing, this is where I am doing.
And that is where the place of the man of approach comes in, when we talked about earlier.
So man of approach really matters, because if you can meet up a man at the checkpoint and tell him, okay, this is it, this is what I am doing, and this is how because a lot of people now
especially when you are not defiling the order ones, like wearing your face mask, and then
I was in a traffic sometime last week, and then a man was stopped in front of my car, and the guy was stopped and he was harassed, and he was they were questioning him, and he was replying. They were questioning him, and he wasn't even harassed. They were questioning him. Okay, where are you going to? Who are you? Where's your ID card? And he was like, I'm in Nigerian. I'm doing.
He was already
you
agitating.
are supposed to obey constituted authority, and so him doing that already just said, pack.
It will give room for them to even have to ask him
because you were asked to sit back in the house. So for you to be outside, there should be a reason. And these people are humans too.
I keep telling people, you see, these law enforcement officers, they are not our enemy.
They're not.
They are all out there for our own betterment.
They're even at risk.
Yes, risking their lives.
At risk. You are out there protecting us. We all have the same things. You have the body, you have the eyes,
same
and everything.
immune system.
Same immune system, but they have taken it upon themselves to protect you. And then when you go out, you want to take advantage of the fact that they're outside.
Just to set the record straight, when I say we have the same immune system, I don't mean the immune level. You get?
Yes,
because someone's immune system can be stronger than
the other person.
So we just need to clear that.
Taking our minds back to the food and the trade and all all that. I think food vending is one business that someone can succeed in. Okay, like I earlier mentioned, you having ID cards from different places you're working. Yes, not even before you're currently working, but because of the lockdown, you're in your house. So you just present this as, okay, this is what I am doing, and this is what it is. And then I am very, very sure that there will be nobody to tell you, okay, don't go anywhere, pack. Like you earlier said, you also said you made mention of them taking into consideration
the other measures.
The measures of cooking, healthy cooking. Make sure that you are considering
the safety
and
the health of your prospective customers.
Because that is really important.
Okay, let's take a look at another the delivery services. Are they exempted in this, or how do you get this? Maybe when you are into a business during this lockdown and someone places an order, how do you get them across? Like the delivery services, are they exempted, or how do you go about it?
I have seen a good number of delivery services, delivery bikes in town.
Okay.
Yes, I have seen a good number of them. I even used some time ago. Yes, so I think there is an exemption. So long as you're not crowding the road, so long as you have your ID card on you
and your face mask,
you're taking the precautionary measures. That's very, very important. So long as you're not crowding, and you have an identification that this is where you are from, and then your manner of approach is really, really, really important.
That is key.
Yes. Because you can't tell me that I stop you on the road and you're saying, why are you stopping me?
You want to
that would just give room for them to pack you or do something to you.
Exactly. So are we now looking at maybe someone starting up a delivery service during this lockdown?
Yes,
is it feasible?
It's feasible. It is very feasible. It's very, very possible for them to try.
So what are the requirements for one to start this?
Yes, ID cards.
Okay.
Yes,
and then possibly the vehicle you'll be moving around with.
Yes, because you have to be ready.
Okay.
Like in the case of the coronavirus pandemic spread, ideas are coming into our heads, and everybody's trying to make ends meet from this. And then we have the the delivery service person comes with his bike, for instance, and then try your possible best. Okay, to package yourself well, to sell that this is what you're doing. You cannot come and you're walking on the road and you're carrying a bag and you say you're a delivery guy. You will be stopped and harassed.
Yes.
So it is for you to understand. You want to say something?
Making yourself just concluding to what concurring to what you're making yourself presentable.
Presentable enough to be able to sell your brand.
Exactly.
Yes, it's not going to be possible for you to totally brand yourself.
Especially if you're just starting.
Yes, if you're just starting in the wake of the coronavirus. But it is also advised that you have something that can, represent that this is what you're standing for. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, another key area, like one of the businesses that could actually thrive during this lockdown situation or lockdown era, is the online businesses. I've seen people. I've seen people retailing data and all of that. It's actually a good one. And like we say, every business begins with the market survey and the feasibility studies. So if you really want to go into that, you just hook up with someone who is doing that already, learn the nitty-gritties of this, what it takes, and how the business, and you're good to go already.
Sure.
And I've seen, like, I begin to wonder, that's why I say you need to learn from someone. I begin to wonder how these people do this, because I've seen a friend of mine who's actually selling data at the moment, and they are quite cheap. Like, data you normally pay 1,000 naira for, he can sell that volume for you for as low as 850, 800, and I'm like, how do you do this? How do you do this? So you can actually learn that.
These are things people should look into. These are things people should look into.
Because instead of before you learn, these are things people should look into. Instead of waiting for opportunity to cash in, maybe by hiking prices of already stock they have.
Because a lot of people now will just come and then you see that data he's selling. He's also going to make profits from it.
Yeah, exactly.
He will make profits from it, but just so that it keeps moving, because he understands that data is in high demand. Everybody wants to be online to observe the challenges.
You know, I earlier mentioned that our phones become our legs and our cars and everything.
I'm telling you everything right now.
Talking about that as well, do people engage in digital marketing?
Exactly.
And where we get to see even businesses like where we get to see POS, it mentions people are stands, people are just using that as well, transactions and all that. Those are profit making businesses that one can actually venture into. What you have to do is just get inquiries, get to know how the startups is about. You don't have to have so much money to actually venture in a business. Making inquiries of what exactly you want to venture into, like talking about the POS and all that transaction and stuff. You could actually know how much it is, or how much is needed to make the start up the business, the location, very important, the stand itself, you understand? So these are kind of business, online businesses one can actually work on too.
Because amidst the lockdown, the financial institution is one institution that is exempted already from the lockdown. All right, let's talk about the hike in prices, the experience people are having out there during this lockdown as regards COVID-19.
Yeah, I want to buttress on the fact that a lot of people are really cashing in on the lockdown.
Taking on due advantage.
Due advantage. Everything that isn't supposed to, be so much of expensive and so much of a bother to people now has now been increased to an exorbitant amount, and a lot of people can't even afford it. And it now keeps it on their shelves.
And it's so bad to the point that ordinarily these are not frivolous things. These are not exorbitant, basic needs.
Basic needs
that you could actually on a normal day people buy this thing and hand out to people.
There's a picture I saw some time ago on the internet of a woman that was trying to take advantage of the pandemic situation, and then she puts up a bowl and water to wash your hands, and then you pay 50 naira to wash your hands with soap and water, and then you use the hand sanitizer with everything for 100 naira. And then this woman didn't have her face mask or her hand gloves. So tell me, how
she's even prone to
contacting the infection. So, and now the exorbitant increase in foodstuff and basic amenities has also exposed us to the fact that a lot of people still can't afford the face mask.
That is why we have to fall back to our earlier advice or suggestion that palliative should be made more in terms of relief materials than in disbursement of funds.
Yes, very, very true. I really agree to that. I really do.
So the problem with that now is how well will this get to the desired or the target audience?
That is why we need to work with the heads of regions, the local government. You call your local government.
Even the traditional council can be very effective on this one.
Yes, your traditional rulers and everybody. Because
ward heads, clan leaders.
Yes. And then family heads too. Because, the thing is, we are so much that we cannot be able to cover up everybody. So if you're able to bring the necessary people that would help spread the relief materials and get to the people at these hidden regions of the country, it will go a long way.
Okay, most other experiences and Nigerians are actually yearning to hear and then get to experience more is the notions being made by different individuals and organizations. Nigerians are keen to know how judiciously or how well these donations are being used. We've seen a report of several individuals and then organizations made series of donations. And then it came to my mind that, okay, we need to put this straight. Okay, like some Nigerians are feeling like, okay, this money should ordinarily should have been disbursed by these people, like maybe some religious people, religious heads that actually said, okay, they made donations, some in cash, some in relief material. Those in cash, people felt, okay, they should have been given directly to their congregants or their members. And then some other institutions, like some financial institutions, actually lay claims to them donating money. So Nigerians actually felt that, okay, this money should have been disbursed to their bank since they are banking with them and all. But on a second thought, to balance up the equation, we all know that researches are being done on how well this pandemic can be taken out. And then it is money that is needed to conduct this research. Don't we think maybe this part of money was actually made to go into research so that, okay, we don't have to hide and then try to feed ourselves and still remain in hiding pending when this virus is gone, we commit this money into doing research to phasing it out totally.
Yeah, addressing the earlier points, the point you mentioned earlier, the thing about people saying, okay, why don't you release this
directly to the congregant or the individuals? Why giving it to the government first?
I think to an extent that this is not affecting us as in our different religious denominations. This isn't affecting us in a different tribal denominations
or
inclinations. It's affecting us as
an entity,
humans,
as a nation, as a human.
So if you are trying to expand on the fact that you want this to have been disbursed to you because you attend a particular denomination, that's wrong.
Okay.
Because, I know of a church that everybody there, on a particular time or a particular week, they make donations and take it to different places. They don't go to these places to say, okay, I'm giving it to a particular tribe, I'm giving it to a particular different religious
They just give
group.
it to the needy.
They give it to the needy. They give it to the needy, and so that would actually would really raise up a lot of hearsays and all, because you shouldn't even think of the fact that you and this person are not brothers. I tell people, we are all brothers.
Yes. Before any division,
anything,
we are
any
humans.
division, we are humans. We are brothers.
With no sentiment.
With no sentiment at all. So I think to an extent we should look out for each other, because what affects you should affect me.
Exactly.
So if you have caught the coronavirus, or if you are hungry and I have food, I'm wicked, because my neighbor shouldn't be hungry and I have food. And that brings us back to the fact that I said it makes us family.
Yeah.
The ability to share with one another is very key. So these people should not hang on to the fact that, okay, this thing should have been released to us directly. No. And also, the second point you made mention of,
or maybe committing this fund to doing research to phase out the pandemic.
The second point you mentioned was committing the funds to make research. Making research is not going to eat up all the funds, will it? It shouldn't. So I think if you can there should be a division, because money is coming in. These people are making pledges, and according to the statistics and news, they are making donations. So why don't you just divide this money and see how best you can reach these people? We're not saying you're going to cover totally, but to an extent we see that you're making effort, because a lot of individuals and corporate bodies have started making donations to people, giving out relief materials and food stuff and food items. And so I think to an extent that you should also try to imbibe this attitude of trying to reach out to those people. Yes, I know when you make the research, when you bring the cure, the vaccine, it would circulate for everyone. But instead of us having more deaths of hunger than of the coronavirus, let us manage both.
Wow. Okay, Jojo, any thought from you about this?
Well said by Fuchi, because basically I just looked at the whole thing. If governments are able to make palliatives for people out there, now those ones that come in contact with this, like taking for instance, giving them to their heads, people around, like the leaders around them. Now let this palliatives, let this funds, let this provision be available to people around. They should not disburse this thing for themselves or for their own self-interest. You understand? That's where sentiment comes in. Okay, they want to meet the needs of their people or people around them, like maybe their leaders or their core leaders and stuff. But let this actually go round. About the research aspect of it. If fundings can, fundings can be made available for them to actually push in for research. Research for all of for the whole pandemic to just be at ease. Then it's possible. Then they could go for it. It can just be made available as well. Maybe kits, providing how they call it, kits, right? For testing kits rather, that will actually enable this research to go well, to in order for them to
identify positive cases.
Yes, like not assuming that one is positive yet, meanwhile it's not. So one of these things I take into consideration, one of these things I made available, is to just aid the positive.
Okay, I get your point. We'll be going on a short break, but before then, I want us to talk about some key points you actually brought out. One is from Fuchi, when she talked about being a brother's keeper. When you be a brother's keeper, you were sharing a story with me of some people hiking prices of goods or commodities at their disposals to over a certain percentage, which ought not to be. You were talking about maybe, for example, a commodity that goes for 15 naira and then it's been hiked up to over 500 naira. That's inhumane.
That's really inhumane.
Like, and then we're trying to analyze the situation. Okay, there's a break in the supply chain already. And then this person, like you're analyzing, probably, when you're doing trade and business, for you to calculate your profit, you need to know your cost price and your selling price. So when you subtract the cost price from the selling price, that gives you a profit, right? So if this thing is being sold for 15 naira, a good businessman must have bought this thing below 15 naira.
True, very
okay,
true.
Fine. And then maybe take, for instance, he bought for around 30 to 40 naira and it's been sold for 15 naira. He's selling for 15 naira. And then there is a hike to up to 500 naira now. That is the selling price. We don't know the cost price. And definitely some people might deliberately decide to cash in on this
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
but others are hiking their price because there must have been a hike from their source where they get
Yeah,
it from
sure.
already.
Yes,
So we were actually analyzing a situation where, okay, if you could just sell for 70 naira, 80 naira, 100 naira, it's
It's
still
fair
okay.
enough, yes.
But one gray area that we need to highlight and cover is that, okay, we don't even know the current cost price from the source. So if you're telling this person, maybe he bought for 30 naira probably, and he sells for 80 or 100 naira, and maybe the new cost price is around 200 naira, how does he or she get back to the market to buy again? Or he should just sell the ones at his disposal to help a fellow human and then go back into his closet and sit down and watch.
Okay, talking about let's highlight one of these products or one of the services.
Okay.
I'll pick up the face mask.
Okay.
Now, the face masks usually before the coronavirus pandemic was sold for 15 naira, and after the week of the coronavirus and the spread, it's sold for 300 to 500 naira.
That's right, yeah.
And a lot of people would have stocked up their shop with this face mask
Different units.
before the coronavirus. So as it became of huge importance, they now increased their stock, the price of their stock. Now I'm saying, when everybody was on a lockdown, businesses have been put to a halt, especially those people that work on a daily too.
Yeah.
There is nobody to patronize them to make profit. So why would you then increase this? Why don't you increase it from 50 naira to say 100 naira? Why all the way to 300 to 500 naira?
500 naira.
It's inhumane, truly, because a lot of us don't understand that as an entity,
Before profit or before money, there was human.
yes, as an entity and as a unit, we are humans.
Yeah.
We are humans. We are single. We are cells. So if you want to, out of greed and selfish interest, increase it, the fact is it will be on your shelf and nobody will patronize you.
Just to buttress your point, in the wake of the pandemic, some people's line of thought or philosophy is that if you are actually it's quite myopic to be putting money ahead of people at the moment.
Yeah.
Because for how long do you think we can continue with this? Instead of trying to phase out the pandemic, you're trying to maybe just stock up the sum in your account or different, like to what end? Where we've seen in different parts of the world where they are highly ravaged by this pandemic. We saw a video of people throwing their money out on the street, like the money has no value. Again. Because right now, what matters to everybody is to breathe.
Yes. To stay alive.
Stay alive.
To survive.
Then talking about the other issue I made mention of before, I said we're going to break, when Jojo was talking about committing funds to research or to end the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then particularly, we know that molecular laboratories are where these researches should be carried out regarding the COVID-19 precisely.
Yeah.
And then Jojo talked about the test kit, provision of test kits.
Yeah.
If you see the amount of people, the number of people that have been tested so far is still on the low considering our population.
Yeah.
The last I checked, we've not hit the 10,000
we've
people
not.
tested so far.
Yes.
And then we are close to 200 million from the last statistics we have about our country. So if these more kits can be made available, it will actually make us come close into reality of the possible cases we have in Nigeria, because there were projections that about 10,000 people out there could be already be infected because of the number of contact these index cases must have had initially. So that's another angle we need to look at it from. But in a nutshell, palliatives should be provided, and then all effort or all hands need to be on deck to make sure that this pandemic is being phased out.
Yes.
Still APR Midday Feed on African Patriot Radio with your radio best friend Elvis Oga alongside Stargate Jojo and Fuchi the Goddess. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we dish out the precautionary measures that ought to be taken so that we don't allow this virus spread further. Please stay with us and don't go away.
form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol. These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. Please call the emergency line for support and inquiries if you reside in Nigeria. The numbers to call is 080-097-000-010. This is brought to you by African Patriot Radio. I am Josephine Paul.
All right, welcome back. It's still Apr Mid Day Feed on your number one radio station, African Patriot Radio. And we are talking about COVID-19 lockdown experiences. Radio best friend Elvis, guys, right behind the MRC. And I have Stargate Jojo alongside Fuchi, the energy goddess.
Yes.
All right, like we promised our listeners and our viewers that we'll be talking about the preventive or precautionary measures that can be taken to curb the further spread of this virus when we get back. Can we do that properly right now?
Yeah, so basically we know that the preventive measures that we've been adhering to was is still on washing of your hands, using the hand sanitizer as much as possible, and wearing your face masks, very important, and also drinking a lot of water, to curtail this coronavirus too. Like when you try to take water intermittently. Yes.
Yeah, I would just love to have you highlight them so that we'll pick them and just address them.
Okay.
One after the other.
Okay, washing of hands is very important. We know that we actually do that. It's something that has actually been, on the go right from time.
Yeah.
If if you want to wash your hands, not just doing the glancing. Should I use the word glancing? Like just putting your hands inside the water.
Glancing.
And then
I like that.
Yes. So you have to do that. Take your time. Wash your hands on every side, you understand? And don't just wash your hands bare with water. Make sure you use soap. Understand, disinfectant. You wash your hands properly, like for about 10 seconds, 10 minutes or thereabout. Is it too much?
20 seconds.
20 seconds, yes, not too much for you to do. So that's also very important. And hand sanitizers, try as much as possible to move around with them. It's very important because you come in contact with things, with different people. So most times when you the thing has become so funny. People were using it for a joke and stuff. Most people don't want to come in contact, have to give a handshake to people.
There's a new
They've
handshake
just been
now,
doing
the
like
elbow thing.
The elbow shake.
Let's try the stuff like
Wow,
that.
I like that. And then the leg shake as well.
Yeah, the leg shake.
And somebody was actually talking about the butt shake too.
Oh.
That's on the lighter note.
A lot of things, a lot of things.
a lot of
All
things.
just anything that can
So
actually make-
like Jojo was trying to highlight a frequent hand washing with soap and water, applying the hand sanitizers, maintaining social distancing, and then stay at home and other hygienic practices we can indulge in. So let's get to talk about them one after the other. Proper hand washing.
Yes, proper
We all
hand.
know you need to wash your hand with soap and water
Yeah.
under clean running water.
Clean running water.
Yes. And then I think there's this video showing on African Petrol Radio where there's this demonstration of how best
Yes,
and
you
how
can
well
wash
to
to do this.
wash
Yes,
your hand.
true.
So like you place your hand under running water, apply your soap or detergent, and then rub together or scrub your hands for like 20 seconds, like Jojo earlier highlighted, because that 20 seconds is the time required for these for the chemicals in this soap and detergent to kill these
the
germs.
germs, yeah.
And then you have to rinse your hand with clean drying water, with clean
Running
water, and then you dry your hands.
Yeah.
Dry your hands with a hand towel or a tissue, and then the application of hand sanitizers. We actually saw the proper way hand sanitizers can be applied. I would love to have Fuchi talk about that.
I would not talk about just the hand sanitizers and the application of the hand sanitizers and all, but also considering the fact that there are a lot of people that can't afford the hand sanitizers.
Okay.
A lot of us have not been able to afford this because now hand sanitizers are sold and manufactured everywhere. So a lot of people that can't afford the hand sanitizers should try their possible best to use their face mask. Now, if you can't use your face mask, like the one they're selling in shops, tailors now have they've devised another means of sewing,
Producing this,
producing something that would go at a cheaper rate.
And aside from tailors too, a lot of videos like trendy, right? To just show how to make
this yourself.
mask.
DIY videos, do it yourself at
Do
home
it
stuff and
yourself.
all.
Yeah,
so
because I think those. I kind of just say this. I'm not sure of the news because there was a news that was trending one time that most of the masks that were imported into Nigeria were actually infected with this virus.
As alleged.
So it was alleged. Yes, we're not quite sure about the story. So that's why it was advisable that if you can do this, do it yourself. The face masks and all.
Yeah, so I think with this, since you cannot afford to get the expensive,
I think the most common alternative to it is just the hand washing with soap and water
and the face mask,
face
because
mask.
they are cheaper face masks.
Yes, and
so
then
once you're able to do these things, once you're able to observe and avoid crowded areas, because a lot of people now don't understand what they mean by avoiding crowded areas. They'll be like, "That's my brother, that's my neighbor," but your neighbor has been exposed to another neighbor, has been exposed to another person somewhere.
Like Elvis stated earlier that when he wakes up in the morning, he has to hug his brother,
and now he can't anymore.
No, he can't.
Yes, for the love of your neighbor to avoid some places.
And then talking about social distancing. I watched Situation Room on TVN the other day when May particularly was trying to let us understand like the nomenclature given to these things matters a lot because it goes a long way in driving home the intent and the aim of it. So is it supposed to be social distancing or physical distancing?
Physical distancing would do it better.
Exactly.
But a lot of people wouldn't understand what you mean by social distancing. A lot of people will think, okay, you mean social. That means when people are gathered in a party or something, social events, that is when I don't have to go there or something. But not disputing the fact that it is also important to avoid such places. But we should also take into cognizance the fact that a lot of people too should try to sit back in their houses. What you want to do, you want to go out to get something, you just go out, get what you want to get, and go back to your house. Yes, this is something we are trying to curb and manage as an entity, as a human race. So let's not take it for granted.
Not at all.
Because everybody is trying their own best and in bits and pieces to gather up and make this work for us all.
Yeah, talking about drinking of water intermittently, that's quite medical. And then what do I call it the other day? We're about to go clinical with it, right? That's what I told you. Yeah, because research has shown that this virus actually have its best take at the throat.
Yes.
And when you allow it to stay at the throat too much, then it's able to spread.
So
Yeah, and then that's why people have difficulty in breathing. Because
So
you know it's a respiratory.
that's and you know that's the one of the early symptoms of the
Yes,
virus.
yes.
So why drinking of water intermittently is very important is that when you drink water, it
goes
pushes it down
to
to
the
the
stomach,
tummy,
yes.
and then the temperature in the tummy is
Cannot
not favorable for it.
Oh,
And then there
Yes.
are other activities, the secretion of pancreatic juice by the pancreas and different stuff actually make the virus not survive there. So that's why you have to imbibe the habit of drinking water.
water.
Yeah, even before the virus, health,
advice.
health expert actually advised that we drink water regularly,
regularly.
to avoid dehydration.
Yes, yes. Now this point me back to one of the times we were sharing our tips, advice to parents and children as well. Drinking water, making it a routine in family is actually very healthy. Talking about this drinking water just reminded me of a story I know of one of my relatives in their house. It is compulsory that every day you wake up in the morning, you learn to drink water, a glass of water, very important.
Wow.
So now this is what he does. Like one of my uncles, what he does is he doesn't joke with drinking of water. So what he does is that he fills the water maybe in a bottle or in a flask for his son. So he tells his son, so and so time, this water will be finished. Like, let's say from the morning till 12, you have to finish drinking this water.
So anyhow you want to do it, you have to drink it.
So you can imagine. So it's more like a hobby, like you said, when something's done frequently. Yes.
For
So he
like
now
21 days, it
exactly.
becomes a
So
habit.
becomes a hobby and becomes a routine like you have to deal with. So
I have to pick up that as a habit too.
challenge. How about that becoming a challenge?
Yes, drinking water challenge.
A challenge. Yeah.
Drinking
So we're
water
thinking about
challenge.
doing a challenge, right?
Yeah, that's
could just
another one in the bag.
Yeah, another one in the bag.
Okay, it's
So,
quite good. And then
yeah.
we were talking about use of face mask, and we
Yeah.
actually talked about that. And then social distancing.
Yeah, another point, drinking water too. As well as drinking water, you can actually eat more food.
Yeah.
Eating food and vegetable
and
fruits is
vegetable,
very healthy as well, in order to boost your immune system. Yeah, so
Yeah, true.
as much as you are as much as you are adhering to all of these preventive measures, washing your hands, using the hand sanitizer,
Sanitizers.
mask and everything, food is healthy.
There's this
Food is
particular,
life.
do I call it radius of a distance
Yeah.
we are advised to keep
1.5 meters.
1.5 meter
Yes.
or 10 centimeter.
Yeah.
As the case may be. So
Yeah.
as much as possible. Like I like the way you guys are sitting in the
I
studio.
was
Like
always
Yeah, I had to observe.
yeah.
You never can tell where Jojo has been or where I have been too,
Coaching,
you know.
If it's about coronavirus, I think I will hug you right now. When you're saying it. Yeah, but it's very important that we adhere to that as well.
Our time is fast spent already, so I want us to take our final words on the show. So let's begin with you, Fuchi.
I think in a bid to cope the coronavirus and manage it, there should be implemented measures of how to let people go out.
Okay.
Let us go out, because I think in China or so I read that they have thermometers at different points, train station, bus parks, marketplaces that are used to manage and check the health of these people, or the temperature of these people. So once it's detected that you have a high temperature, you will be taken in for testing, for isolation, and if you're tested positive,
for testing first before isolation.
if you're tested positive, you're taken for isolation. So I think it's something we should imbibe here, because a lot of people, we would have a very huge chunk of people dying of hunger than of the coronavirus.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people are hungry, a lot of people are at home, a lot of people will now have to devise other means of survival, and this is going to expose us to everybody will be at a risk, because you don't know who is going to come behind you to snatch one thing to sell to get food, and nobody's even selling to get money. It's more like the trade by barter thing you spoke about earlier, where everybody is trying to exchange. So you steal and you exchange for food. So that's the point we're getting to now, and I think different measures should be employed. And then I think that we should just let us go out, and then more like a census. You know how they conduct census, where you go about checking people and all that. That should be imbibed, to send them to marketplaces, send them to bus stops. So before you enter a vehicle, you check yourself. And then all the union for motorists should also try to have this basic things: wash your hands before you get into any vehicle. Okay, have your face mask and your hand sanitizers. They should make provision for all this, because these are places where you can easily contact the virus.
I think that that one of our using hand sanitizers will actually put in place, because that Monday that the lockdown was supposed to, the stay-at-home order was supposed to start or commence. On my way to work that day, I didn't drive, so I had to come through a public transport. So about entering this particular vehicle, they gave me hand sanitizers were provided at the entrance.
It's
and
a very good start.
Like
It's a
I
very
liked
good
it,
start.
but we got reported with some people actually beating it. And the most pathetic situation about that is when this particular vehicle didn't give the passengers to apply, the sanitizers to apply on their hand. But when these law enforcement agencies or officers stopped the vehicle on the road, the passenger had to be a false witness that they were giving.
You can imagine. Usually when I get into a vehicle, when I bought a vehicle, I try my possible best to share my sanitizers with everybody because you never can tell. You just never can tell.
All right, you just heard that from the energy goddess herself, Fuchi, and now let's hear from the star girl, Jojo.
So, of course, basically we have to do and follow the precautionary measures, which is very important. Washing your hands, do all of those things that would, help us curtail this virus. Like Fuchi said, just talking about the Motorists Union. I think if following these preventive measures, there's more to it. Following and adhering to the information to all of this is very important. For instance, when they said avoid entering overloaded vehicles, most drivers are not, most of them are not adhering to this, and that's quite sad. And I still see a lot of vehicles having two people to sit in the front and about 4 at the back. And then you don't have a choice most times when people are hurrying in a hurry to work and stuff. So aside from you wanting to take personal precautionary measures like washing your hands, also adhere to the information that has been given. Please
always keep your ears open for
be at alert, be vigilant as well too. Is also very important. But always adhere to the instructions because it will save lives. It will help you and I. It's for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of all of us as a whole, as a nation. All right. So another thing is that you have to be your brother's keeper.
Exactly.
You have to spread the news and not the virus.
Yes.
A lot of people giving panic in the heart of a lot of people. Like people are hearing information, so these are actually scary. Most times it's not the virus that has been killing us. It's the information we get.
Yes.
And lastly, a lot of patriotic acts are occurring. So if you can fund, if you can help one another, if you can help your brother, if you can be your brother's keeper, the little you have, you can actually give out to help, to fund, for the survival of people around you. Then do it and just for the betterment of everyone to just keep this in.
Okay, and that's from the star girl herself. And in that same regard or in that same light, I would like to say, okay, palliative, yes, and then several other modalities and measures need to be put in place so that we don't have the negative effect of the lockdown. Instead, because we have the effect of the pandemic, and then we also get to see the effect
of the lockdown.
Of the lockdown. So, like we said, we are hoping that at the end of the lockdown, we'll see a positive change in our behavioral pattern where we get to where we get to see our hygiene practices being restored and our maintenance culture being restored. All right, that's it for now on the program for today, and I'd like to say a very big thank you to everybody who has been part of the show. But before we sign out, I'd like to tell us about our airtime slot, which are highly available. If you have any business you want to advertise, which will actually gain more audience and gain more patronage, you can actually call the following numbers. We have our airtime slot for the morning belt, afternoon belt, and the evening belt. So for the morning belt, if you want your advert in the morning, you can call the number 0814 729 6038 or 0706 367 0814. For the afternoon belt, you can call 0810 514 998, and you can also call 0816 856 8137. For the evening belt, reach out to us on 0811 448 6568 and then 0816 077 3440. Don't forget the code is +234. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we hope you adhere to all the information that's been passed out. Bye-bye for now. My name is Elvis Oga.
And Stargirl Jojo is my name.
And I am Fulfillment, the Energy Goddess.
And we are the Patriots.
The Patriots.
All right.
My name is Josephine Paul.
Susan Achin.
Yao Bremen.
Jude Ojema Audu.
Second Zilang.
Richard Bassi.
Ekanem. I am Messi Joe, and we are
African Patriot on African Patriot Radio. My name is Josephine Paul.
Susan Achin.
Yao Bremen.
Jude Ojema Audu.
Second Zilang.
Richard Bassi.
Ekanem. I am Messi Joe, and we are
African Patriot on African Patriot Radio.
The world has been brought together to form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus, or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap, or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol.
These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. If you reside in Nigeria, please call this number for help. 080-097-000010. Please like and share this video. You can also follow us on our Instagram at African Patriot Radio News, and on Facebook at African Patriot Radio, and on Twitter at Patriot Radio 1. Day on African Patriot Radio, where we are poised at keeping you up to date with the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Josephine Paul. The coronavirus COVID-19 is real and rapidly taking over the world, with about 5 new cases now confirmed in Nigeria, making a total number of 36 confirmed cases, 33 active cases, 2 discharged, and 1 death recorded as at 10:35 a.m. of March 2020. The question most people are asking is, how do I know I have been infected with the virus? Here are some of the early warning symptoms that would need you to check into a health facility for proper diagnosis. Fever, cough, shortness of breath, itching, dry cough, dry throat. And here are some emergency warning signs or symptoms. They include trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, bluish lips or face. These symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. So be alert, spread the news and not the virus. In case of any emergency, you can also call 080-097-0000. You can also follow our social media handles or like and share. From African Patriot Radio, I am Josephine Paul.
Brought together to form an alliance to fight deadly pandemic coronavirus or the COVID-19. It's no longer news that the world is fighting against the deadly virus that is no longer a respecter of age, class, and status, as it has affected the world leaders, entertainers, socialites, the rich and the poor. Over 228,385 cases and over 9,357 deaths recorded in the world from COVID-19. Here on African Patriot Radio, we will be giving you 20 tips in preventing and protecting you from the deadly epidemic. 1. Wash your hands properly with water and antiseptic soap or use a sanitizer. Use medical masks while in public places. 3. Do not come in physical contact with those infected. 4. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and other sensitive parts of your body with unwashed hands. 5. Stay at home if you're not feeling well. 6. When coughing or sneezing, use a tissue and dispose afterwards. 7. Always clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces like chairs, tables, door knobs, etc. 8. Cover your nose with a handkerchief or tissue when someone around you sneezes. 9. Avoid overloaded commercial vehicles. 10. Avoid populated center. 11. Sweaty body contact or sharing clothes you aren't sure are properly washed. Please avoid them. 12. Drink plenty of hot or warm water. 13. If you have a high fever, cover yourself with a blanket. 14. Avoid drinking too much of ice water. 15. Do lots of exercises. 16. Try to eat ginger or add them to your meal. It generates heat in the body. 17. Avoid sharing objects or accessories like earphones without cleaning or disinfecting them. 18. Avoid eating in unhygienic places or areas. 19. Avoid cold environments where it is possible for the virus to thrive. Finally, the most common thing we touch is our phone. Always make sure that you clean the surfaces of your phones with wipes, sterilizing agents, or alcohol. These are some helpful ways of preventing coronavirus. Please call the emergency line for support and inquiries if you reside in Nigeria. The numbers to call is 080-097-000-010. This is brought to you by African Patriot Radio. I am Josephine Paul.